Back to give another YouTube video. It's your boy Riot G. Today we're gonna react to 10 WWE WrestleMania-worthy matches wasted on minor pay-per-views. Let's get right into the video.
You would think WWE would want to save their biggest matches for the biggest show of the year. That might be true most of the time, but the company have been guilty of taking some matches that were tailor-made for WrestleMania and putting them on minor pay-per-views instead. And by minor, we are talking B and C level shows, so not the likes of the Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. Sometimes WWE have a very good reason for doing this, but in a few instances, the decision remains perplexing to this very day. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 WrestleMania-worthy matches wasted on minor pay-per-views. Join us. Number 10, The Rock vs. Triple H at Backlash 2000. WrestleMania 16 was an oddly underwhelming show during what was, generally speaking, a great year for WWE on pay-per-view. There was only one singles match on the card, and that was a catfight between the Cat and Terry Runnels, with the show's main event being the four-way WWE title elimination match promoted with the promise that there would be a McMahon in every corner. Yay. By rights, WrestleMania 2000 should have ended with the match and result that took place at Backlash a month later. The Rock and Triple H had collided on pay-per-view several times before, but this was them at the peak of their powers and as their singles rivalry was at its zenith. They had an absolutely cracking match at Backlash, which, to be fair, helped the show draw a massive 650,000 buy rate, the second.
What is that? Supposed to be like money or the audience watching? That's still a lot.
Biggest of the year behind Mania's 824,000. Granted, the tease of an appearance by the injured Steve Austin, who played a decisive role in the main event, may have also had something to do with the Backlash number, but there's no denying there was great interest in the one-on-one meeting between the Great One and the Game.
Come on now, really?
Roman Reigns vs. John Cena at No Mercy 2017. When it looked like John Cena's full-time in-ring career may be winding down after over a decade as the company's top babyface star, the man who appeared most likely to take over his spot was the hand-picked Roman Reigns. A first-time match between the two should have theoretically been reserved for one of the bigger pay-per-views, if not WrestleMania itself. So what the hell was it doing taking place at No Mercy 2017? Where, by the way, it didn't even headline. Indeed, the Big Dog and Big Match John's big match went on third from last before a cruiserweight title bout between Neville and Enzo Amore and Brock Lesnar's arbitrary Universal title defense against Braun Strowman.
Reigns versus John Cena sounds like a good WrestleMania match, or at least a good pay-per-view match for a different type of pay-per-view. Not No Mercy. No Mercy is a good pay-per-view, but I feel Roman Reigns versus John Cena, that's a WrestleMania match right there.
Cena and Reigns had a good match that I guess was supposed to act as something of a torch-passing moment during Roman's ill-fated right-down-your-throat babyface push. But it would have been much better inside a big stadium and with a better, longer build. The two did get to close things out at SummerSlam 2021, which felt like a much bigger deal, but with
That's a much better match, right? I mean, both matches are great against each other.
Cena doing his farewell tour in 2025, a WrestleMania showdown with Reigns will very likely never happen. Number 8, Randy Savage vs. Jake Roberts at this Tuesday in Texas. The rivalry between Randy Savage and Jake Roberts was one of the most intensely personal in WWE history. I mean, Roberts crashed Savage and Elizabeth's wedding reception and then had a goddamn cobra bite Randy on the arm for real, you know? The feud could have stretched to WrestleMania 8, but the Macho Man and the Snake had seemingly put their bitter beef behind them by that time. The two had just one pay-per-view match at the utterly forgettable This Tuesday in Texas, then scrapped in the 1992 Royal Rumble match and had their big blow-off on the February 8th edition of Saturday night's main event. Roberts has spoken about his own frustration at the feud ending abruptly and not getting a satisfying WrestleMania payoff, citing it as one of the reasons he decided to quit the company after putting over The Undertaker at the showcase of the Immortals. If Jake was already set on leaving, WWE could have easily added a loser leaves town stipulation to any Savage Roberts Mania.
Jake the Snake Roberts versus Macho Man.
a match. Randy's world title triumph over Ric Flair on that show was admittedly awesome and not something you would necessarily want to erase, but it remains rather odd that Savage vs. Roberts ended how and where it did. Number 7, Kurt Angle vs. The Undertaker at No Way Out 2006.
Kurt Angle vs. Undertaker at WrestleMania-Worthy match.
At WrestleMania 22, Kurt Angle dropped the WWE World Heavyweight title to Rey Mysterio in a triple threat match also featuring Randy Orton, while The Undertaker extended his Mania winning streak by beating Mark Henry in a casket match. The three-way was decent, if not a few minutes too short, whereas the casket match was what it was. SmackDown could have stolen the show, however, had they booked the Olympic hero to defend his title against the Dead Man instead. And really, Angle vs. Undertaker is a match that very much belonged on the Mania marquee.
Yeah, I feel like it could have been a good match. Because, you know, Kurt Angle never faced, you know, Undertaker for the streak. Could have been a streak match. It didn't even have to be for the World Championship. It could have been a streak match.
But was dumped on No Way Out the month before. The upshot was that the No Way Out match was something of a minor classic that was by some distance the best thing on that pay-per-view and one of the very best matches of the year. Kurt has since been very open about the fact that both men wanted the match to take place at Mania 22, with Taker going directly to Vince McMahon to specifically request as much. McMahon wasn't moved though, since he didn't want Taker as world champ at that time and wasn't prepared to sacrifice the streak to continue Angle's reign. Number 6, Roman Reigns vs. Dean Ambrose vs. Seth Rollins at Battleground 20.
What I'm hearing is he said Vince didn't want the title on Undertaker at the time.
Number 6, Roman Reigns vs. Seth Rollins stabbed Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose in the back with a steel chair to break up the Shield. The Hounds of Justice finally clashed for the first and only time in a triple threat match. It was a very strong main event to cap off what had been a thoroughly enjoyable show overall, as the Lunatic Fringe emerged with the WWE titles still around his waist. But considering the history between the three men and the potential for the match to be a true
I don't know, they could have done better with Dean Ambrose. You guys think so?
epic, it's disappointing that WWE opted to stick it on a random C-level pay-per-view rather than reserve it for the grandest stage. The match, good as it was, could have been that much better with the lights shining that much brighter and a larger crowd on hand to witness it. With Ambrose now plying his trade as Jon Moxley in AEW, Roman Reigns working a very part-time schedule, and Seth Rollins surely in the winter of his own full-time in-ring career, there is next to no chance we will see another triple threat between.
Yes, you got Roman and Seth in a triple threat match this WrestleMania with CM Punk, so
them, let alone at WrestleMania. Number 5, The Rock vs. Goldberg at Backlash 2003. Those smart fans knew that the company had been negotiating with the former WCW World Heavyweight Champion. The first tease for Goldberg's impending arrival took place during WrestleMania 19, ahead of his debut the next night on Raw. Goldberg's first order of business was a dream match with The Rock, a dream match that was going to take place after a 3-week build at Backlash. I'm sorry, but you've got two of the biggest stars of the Monday Night Wars finally colliding after years of talk and speculation, and you book it for Backlash? Hell, I mean, Dwayne himself was instrumental in bringing Goldberg to WWE because he wanted to work with him. To be fair, WWE might have booked the match for Mania 19 had Goldberg signed earlier, but the match could have still feasibly been saved for next year instead, giving them more time to build it up. For what it's worth, the Backlash bout was quite the letdown in the end, and I don't think many would want to sacrifice Rock Austin 3, but it still feels like a match that ought to have gone down at WrestleMania. Number 4, Randy Orton vs. Triple H at Unforgiven 2004. Look, right, so we know
at least we got Randy Orton and Triple H in a match at WrestleMania 25.
that Randy Orton and Triple H did wrestle in the main event of WrestleMania 25. We know that because the interminable Borefest is, last time I checked, still going on. Maybe the match would have gone down a lot better had it taken place 4 years prior as planned. The original Orton babyface turn in the summer of 2004, which saw him win the World Heavyweight title and get kicked out of Evolution within 24 hours of each other, was more than just a little rushed, but fans assumed it was just the beginning of a saga that would take the Legend Killer and the Cerebral Assassin all all the way to Mania 21. Instead, WWE booked their first meeting for the run-of-the-mill Unforgiven pay-per-view a month later. What's more, they had Helmsley beat Orton to take the belt from him in their very first singles encounter. Yes, the Orton babyface turn hadn't been a roaring success, but there was still time.
Were you telling me when Randy won that world title, he didn't have the title for long? What was this, his first world title reign when he was like the youngest world champion?
To course correct and get Randy ready for the big dance. It all worked out in the end, well, certainly did for Batista anyway, but it seemed strange that WWE would hotshot a match and title change so suddenly and for such a nothing show. Number 3, The Shield versus the Wyatt family at Elimination Chamber 2014.
That could have been a good WrestleMania match, because I think this was the same time where The Shield had faced New Age Outlaws at WrestleMania. They could have had their rivalry go on a little longer after Elimination Chamber. They could have had a WrestleMania match, so a 6-man tag team match with a stipulation behind it or something.
With both the Shield and the Wyatt family being dominant forces on WWE television in 2013, it was inevitable that the two stables would square off sooner rather than later. It really did turn out to be sooner, as their first meeting took place at Elimination Chamber 2014, only 6 months after the Wyatt family's main roster debut. The 6-man tag was a real gem, surpassing even the lofty expectations some had placed on it beforehand. But why didn't WWE save it for WrestleMania 30? After all, Reigns, Rollins and Ambrose were only given a short throwaway victory over Kane and the New Age Outlaws on that show, while Bray Wyatt got beat by John Cena as Luke Harper and Eric Rowan watched on from ringside. What makes it even odder is that
It could have been because the John Cena rivalry, like Bray Wyatt or whatever.
WWE booked the Shield versus the Wyatt family in rematches on Raw in the weeks leading up to Mania, and then on an episode of Main Event 2 days after Mania. I appreciate trying to give Bray the rub by putting him in with Cena, but I reckon Big Match John could have tangled with somebody else, and WWE could have put the first Shield versus Wyatt's match in the Superdome.
Join Bet365.
Here we go with the ads. And it's unskippable too. The same ads too, over and over again.
2, CM Punk versus John Cena at Various. One of CM Punk's big gripes after leaving WWE under a cloud of controversy in 2014.
Yeah, they had plenty of matches at different pay-per-views because there's like one of the best rivalries of all time. I ain't just CM Punk's my favorite wrestler. CM Punk's one of his best rivalries is with John Cena, and that's one of the best rivalries of all time. I can admit that.
Was that he was never given the opportunity to headline WrestleMania. Realistically, that could have probably only happened in either 2011 or 2013, with John Cena the likely opponent on both occasions. Cena and Punk had a fantastic rivalry that saw them clash on various pay-per-views in both singles and multi-person bouts, including 3 one-on-one belters at Money in the Bank, SummerSlam 2011, and Night of Champions in 2012. But the straight-edge superstar
So their rivalry went on for years. They put on good matches for plenty of years. 2010, 2011, 2012, I think they had a match against each other. 2013, they had matches against each other for years.
was looked over in favor of others when it came to picking Cena's WrestleMania opponents. Having The Miz chosen ahead of him in 2011 must have been a bitter pill to swallow, while Punk must have felt like he should have at least been added to the mix with Cena and Rock 2 years later. Cena and Punk's work speaks for itself, and they've had sensational matches whenever they've been paired up. It's just a shame, at least from Punk's perspective, that they were never paired up at the granddaddy of them all. Number 1, Steve Austin versus Mr. McMahon at In Your House St. Valentine's Day.
Do you guys want to see Mr. McMahon versus Stone Cold at WrestleMania? I don't know.
A massacre. Say what you want about Vince McMahon, and there's certainly a lot you can say about Vince McMahon, especially these days, but his on-screen work as Mr. McMahon and the rivalry with Steve Austin during the Attitude Era was one of the main driving forces behind WWE changing.
I feel like if they had a match against each other at WrestleMania, I feel like he would screw Stone Cold over, because isn't that what he was usually doing in a match? Especially if Vince is the heel and Stone Cold is the face. So
its fortunes and turning the tide in the Monday Night War. Their epic rivalry is not remembered for its matches, of which there were very few, but rather the countless classic moments it produced. In fact, their sole proper one-on-one singles match took place at the very last In Your House event, dubbed St. Valentine's Day Massacre. The cage scrap in which Stone Cold's WrestleMania spot was on the line is probably best known for the horrible bump McMahon took on the announce table, as well as being the scene of Paul White's
the Big Show's debut.
WWE debut. I'm certain that nobody would want to erase any of Austin's WrestleMania matches with The Rock, and
Alright, that was 10 WWE WrestleMania-worthy matches wasted on minor pay-per-views. Subscribe, like, comment, tell me what you guys want to see next in the comments down below. I got more videos coming, stay tuned, and yeah, you're